We're going to go over Western Pleasure today, and this is one of the Western events that gets held within the tack room occasionally. I'm hoping to see it happen more often. It definitely is one of those that if you don't know anything about Western Pleasure or Western riding, it can be a little scary to compete in the first time. Luckily, we do have a lot of people that teach clinics and classes, or will do a one-on-one lesson with somebody if you're interested. But this video is kind of just to get the overall gist of it. Of course, we do have game limitations on mechanics, but we do try our best. And so I'm going to go through and I'm going to use AQHA, which is American Quarter Horse Association. I'm going to use their information, how they run their real life Western Pleasure classes. And of course, it's as close as we can possibly get. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. But we're going to start going through everything from attire, the way your horse looks, general about Western Pleasure, what it actually is, the gaits, and then also some things that judges may be looking at. Keep in mind too that depending on the judge of the competition in the tack room, they might have different criteria. So of course, always ask questions before a competition on what a judge is looking for, or if they're holding a clinic or something, you can always join and get better clarification there. We're going to first start off on your appearance. So this includes what you're wearing as well as the tack your horse has on. Of course, you want it to look similar or you're accenting one another. So you'll see this is my horse Trendsetter that I have. He is a Blue Roan Norfolk Roadster. And you can see, granted his bridle doesn't exactly match, but we can only do so much within the game. So I've put a tack set together for him that best accents his coat color. And so that's kind of part of it. It's not definitely a judge's preference, but it's one of those things if you want to look well put together, you're a team, you look really good together when you're performing. So of course you could pick the tack colors that work best for your horse. And then in accent to that is what you would wear. Most commonly, riders will wear black jeans or black pants and then a colored top that matches more than likely the saddle pad of the horse. The other thing for the horses is the saddle. So you can use pretty much any Western saddle. There's definitely more saddles within the game that are a little bit more roughed up and rustic and more maybe cowy, but the one that is the best used for any Western Pleasure or the fancy Western competitions is the saddle that's got more the squared off skirt, and then it's got the metal conchos, so like these metal embellishments on the side. So I was able to get mine to be black leather and more of a brassy kind of coppery tone for the conchos. So that is the decision I did for the tack on this horse. Now the bridle, I would probably change it to be a solid black bridle, just so then his color stands out because he's got that really nice blue roan coat. But that's just kind of the way the tack went with this horse. But it's one of those things, again, judges shouldn't dock terribly. But if you show up to a Western Pleasure competition and you are in the English style saddle, or you're in a saddle that looks really roughed up and really dirty, then of course that's going to be something that gets judged on. The other thing is your horse needs to be clean, so I did just brush this horse. And again, within the game, the horses get dirty over time. You can't really get docked on that. Also, if you look at the video that I had posted about getting a horse's head lower and more that Western Pleasure look, if you brush your horse after you've set the stamina low, it will reset it and that head comes right back up. So that's something to keep in mind when you're doing it. You can also use spooner, and I'll show that later in the video, to clean your horse if you do want to keep your horse clean. But I would always advise only using that if you are at a standstill, if you're not moving, because of course it would interrupt the rest of the riders, and just something to keep in mind if you want to keep your horse clean. So then for me, you can see that my character, the shirt is the teal color, which kind of matches the blanket as best as I could get it. And then my hat band is also that tealy color. I have black pants, I have a black and silver concho belt, black boots with a little metal embellishment, so it kind of matches. And probably now that I look at it, I would make the saddle concho silver because I have a lot of silver accents on my own outfit, just to make it match a little better. And then I do have spurs. They're a little bit more, let me see if I can get a better angle. They're bumper spurs. Can't really see them with these pants. But you can absolutely wear spurs. Don't wear the big roweled ones that are very sharp. But overall, the biggest thing is to make sure that you and your horse look like a team and you complement each other really well within the colors and within the style of the tack and the outfit. So the next biggest question is, what is Western Pleasure? So it's essentially a competition that you are showing the movement and the gait of your horse and make it look like a pleasure to ride the horse. It's not a bumpy ride, it's not a jumpy ride, it's not uncomfortable. The goal is to be very fluid in the movements, listen to what the judge says, what gaits are you performing. So it is essentially a very fancy way of Simon Says. And so you gotta listen really well. And also another thing we'll get into later in the video is knowing your space when you're like performing. You don't want to run up on a rider ahead of you. Most horses in the game have the same speed, but if you're running up on a horse ahead of you, more than likely you're going too fast. So it's just kind of a little reminder to know on how to do passing. I will bring someone in else to help show off the passing and how passing works, or sometimes we call them quarter lines. But we'll first get into kind of what gaits there are within Western Pleasure. So we'll just start. The first thing I'm going to do is get my horse's head low. If you need a reference on how to do this, I will link a video so you can go and see how to drop a horse's head in RedM. So I'm just going to do that really quickly. So he's got that low headset. See, that one didn't do it. I need stamina. There we go. There we go. Alright, so now you can see he's got that low headset. So if you've seen any Western Pleasure videos, usually their poll, so the spot between their ears, is at the same point of their withers or their shoulder blade, which is kind of right in front of that horn of the saddle. It's usually a straight line and it's a flat line. So we're going to just start off very easily. It's just a walk. So it's a 4-beat gait. I'm trying to record this as best as I can, but you can just see it's a nice and slow and fluid. So a judge would say, riders please walk, riders walk please, competitors please walk, something of that sort. And this is the gait that you would be competing at and showing at. And again, you want to be very fluid in your movements. And so we'll get more into when you're working the wall. You don't want to bouncing off and back in the arena. You don't want to run into other riders, nothing of that sort. So you do kind of have to also keep in mind the section of the arena you're using, and also be very clean and fluid and pretty as you're performing. The next gait we're going to get into is a jog, or if you're used to English writing, is called a trot. So for this, you're just going to hit your shift button if you're on a keyboard once. And although it looks a little bouncy, it's a game mechanic, it's all we can do, but this is just going to be your jog. So this one is almost a 4-beat gait as well, because at all times there is 1 foot on the ground and you're not kind of bouncing between. But you can see we have some forward movement. That horse is kind of picked up and going forward. We're just going to kind of go around a little bit. Now within RedM, there is some ways you can kind of do a lead. However, most judges don't judge upon a lead because a lot of players don't know how to, or it resets a lead, and it's just a game mechanic we can't really enforce within judging itself. Because usually you can like toggle between your A and D and get them to kind of switch their lead, but again, it's not something that is kind of always consistent. So you can kind of see it's just almost a 2-beat gait. So 1 2 1 2 1 2. Now the last gait that you'll be asked to do by a judge is a lope, or also known as a canter in English writing. So within Western writing there are some different words. They are the same gait, it's just different words that we use. So a lope, so we're in a trot right now, so I'm going to, let's see, you're gonna go, so if you're at a trot 1, you're gonna hit your shift button 2 more times, and that should bring you into your first lope. So this one, it looks very nice. It's smooth. That head is down. And so you can see as we go around, it's got a lot of movement within the arena. These gaits for sure, you need to be really paying attention on the riders ahead of you, where you're at in the arena. And if you start getting on the back end of another rider in front of you, this is where we'll get into quarter lines or passing. We're going to get into quarter lines. I'm going to have a player come over, Victor, and help out with this. Victor does teach a lot of Western Pleasure stuff, a lot of cow classes, so he does teach a lot of the Western kind of event things, and he does a really good job of explaining. I believe he also does some lessons as well. So if you're in the tack room, always get a hold of Victor. He's probably got some lessons you can get a hold of him, and he can show you how to do this or explain it as well, and he's really good at explaining it. So he's going to pop over here in a second, and we're going to kind of show you the quarter lines. So quarter lines and passing is, say for instance, I'm getting really close ahead and I'm getting up on a horse and I actually need to move over a little bit. And I'll show you this when Victor gets over here. But the quarter line is a space that you're going to move your horse over to be closer on the inside of the arena. And from there, you can then pass. So for instance, we're going to go around here. And you always want to do quarter line movements on the straightaways. And then when you want to get back in line, you'll do it within the corners. Again, we want to make it look really, really fluid. A judge isn't going to see you going like janking this way and going this way, and then you're speeding up trying to get around. You want to make it very, very fluid. And quarter lining can be done at a walk, it can be done at a jog, it can be done at a lope. You just need to make sure you're not interrupting someone else's riding or your own. And so like this, the nice thing about this arena is you can kind of see there's that light line to my right. So if someone's in front of me, I'm going to just very easily move my horse off the wall, and I'm going to follow this line. And then I would wait until this corner, and then once we bend for this corner, say the person, and I'll show you in a second, is behind me, I'm going to go ahead and just diagonal back in onto the wall again and get back in line and just keep going along with the day until your judge says something. Okay, so Victor's here and he's going to help me kind of show on the quarter line. So we are in line, and I'm just going to get up a little faster to kind of show an example. So I'm getting a little close to him, so I'm going to move off and give some very clear space between me and him. And see, I'm passing, I'm not interrupting his riding or anything, and I'm going to wait until this corner. And once that corner comes, I'm going to bend over and get back on the wall. And I can use C to see I have a very clear way to get back in front of him. And so then I will just get back on the wall, keeping that same gait. And I'll just continue, and he'll just continue as well. So the biggest goal is do not interrupt another rider. Don't interrupt your own. Don't get in a bubble of someone else. Always keep a safe space between you and another player. So that's always the best goal for quarter lines. The biggest thing with Western Pleasure is working the wall or riding the rail. And so you kind of want to have this little bubble of space. You don't want to have your feet be hitting this wall. You don't want your horse be hitting the wall. That's not the right way to be riding. So you do want to keep a nice little bubble, but you do want to kind of keep tight to the wall. When you get into corners, you want to make the turn really smooth and fluid. This is probably a little bit easier on controller. I don't play controller, I play keyboard and mouse. So it's definitely one of those, you just got to be conscious of where you're at in the arena, know your spacing between other riders. And like this, I'm not going to run my horse's head into this wall. I'm going to keep my distance and then smoothly and fluidly go back into line. So while you're working the rail or working the wall, a judge is going to give call outs of riders, please walk. So you're going to walk, and you're going to walk until they tell you not to. And so eventually you'll walk either a few passes, and a judge is consistently looking to see, is anyone bouncing out of the gate? Is anyone kind of like weaving back and forth? All of those things. They look for a variety of things. And again, the biggest goal is being fluid within your riding. So then we'll say, okay, the judge says, riders, please jog, please. So then we'll get our horse up into a jog. And it might seem very, very slow. And it is, because we have our horse's head very low. They have technically low stamina, but this is just the look. If you go and YouTube any Western Pleasure YouTube video or anything like that, you will see that they are very, very slow gaits. And so then we'll do riders, lope please. So then we'll kick our horse up into lope, and the quicker you can get into that gate, the better. And so then we'll just ride around on that first lope. So it's shift until you get into that first lope gate. Now a judge also might want to get the entire class to turn around so then they can see the other side of your horse. So they might say reverse or riders please reverse, and they usually tell you at what gate. So if I was the judge and I wanted to say, okay, I need everyone to reverse, I would say riders please walk. And then riders please reverse at a walk. And so instead of just going like yanking your horse over to the side and doing a 180 on a dime, we're going to again make it very fluid, and fluid is going to be the word of the day in this video. So what I'm going to do is do almost this teardrop. So I'm going to come out very smoothly, not yanking on my horse's face, and then I'm going to come back in that teardrop shape and get back in line, and I'm going to continue at a walk. So we're going to do rider's jog, please. So I'm going to get up into a trot or jog. And then rider's reverse at a jog. So we're going to do that teardrop shape. We're going to go out and around. And then we're going to get back on that wall. So the competition is coming to an end, and a judge is going to ask all the riders to line up in front of them. So you need to know, of course, where the judge is standing. Are they in front of the judge stand? Are they at the far end of the arena? Wherever. So again, it's Simon Says and listening to where they're at. So we're going to keep on going. And say we have a judge that's in front of us that is on this lighter line to my right, and they say, Montana, please come line up in front of me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go behind the judge and leaving plenty of space between my horse and the judge. And then I'm going to turn, and again, make it very pretty and very fluid. And then I'm going to slow down to a walk. And then if this judge is, say, right here, then I'm going to come up and I'm just going to stop right in front. Again, we have some game mechanics. Your horse might turn a little bit. Just try to correct it. But then you would stand here and wait until the rest of the competitors line up. Now, say, for instance, you are all the way back here and the judge says, hey, like, Montana, please line up in front of me. You're not going to cut across the arena. You're going to continue working that rail until you get to a point where you can turn, like make a right-hand turn into the judge, and then you'll walk up to them. Some judges allow you to lope up to them, so it speeds up the process a little bit. And so we'll kind of do that. So say, Montana, please line up in front of the judge. So I'm going to slow down into a lope, and then I'm going to come up here. And then I'll slow down once I get a little closer, and then I'll walk into line and line up with the rest of the competitors. And so a judge might come back up, look at you, and one of the last and final things on a lineup is backing your horse up. So the judge might stand in front of you and say, Montana, please back up. So what I'll do is hit control twice and try to back up. Sometimes judges say 5 paces, 10 paces, but back up just enough, and then you can walk back forward, back into line. And then that's the end of the competition. So then a judge will judge you on their criteria. They'll go through, they'll give you the scores, you might earn prizes, and then once you're released, just slowly walk out of the arena. Again, we don't want any cantering, crazy running around, leaving the arena. You again want to stay very fluid and very precise until you leave the arena and can go and tack. So even though this is not 𝐴𝐞𝐬𝐴 approved content or anything like that, it's the best we can do for even my knowledge of what I have with Western Pleasure and within RedM and how we can apply it to the game. So of course, take it with a grain of salt. I always suggest, if people are really interested in this sport, go watch some YouTube videos, go watch some 𝐴𝐞𝐬𝐴 Western Pleasure competitions, and you can actually see how the sport is done. And then even trying to apply that to RedM is very fun to try to make it work. So if you have any questions about this kind of class or this kind of event, or if you have any questions in general about RedM or the Tackroom, put it in the comments below and I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. I'm hoping to work on some more videos such as this that go through some of the events. I know not a lot of our players can attend all the classes that are out there because of time zones or when they're held or if they're even held. So I'm hoping to make a more larger series of this. Mainly it's going to be focused in Western. I'm hoping I can find someone that can help me with some English stuff. I am not an English writer in real life. So cross-country, dressage, show jumping, anything like that. So if you have any suggestions as well, drop those in the comments, and look forward to you hanging out on the Tackroom or sharing your RedM writing experience.